encourage everybody to be sure and write your some comments in the chat, some words of encouragement and praise, because Sarfraz still has probably another 20 books under his belt that he needs to get out. So we need to encourage him to keep writing those books. So, all right. And thank you all so much for coming today. And without any further ado, let's get started with the first special guest, Jill Sharon Kimmelman. She's a two-time Pushcart Prize nominee in poetry. Her recent publications are Vita Brevis Press, Billboards Press, Fine Lines, Love of Food, and multiple anthologies. You Are the Poem, a 3-themed debut collection with original photos, was released in 2021. Her passions are reading aloud, cooking, photography, theater. She lives in Delaware, USA, with her husband Tim and proud mother of Jordan. She'll read Tea and Biscotti, and we'll be sharing some other tidbits. Jill, be just one moment. I'll give you the go ahead in 1 sec. Let me just get to the correct clip. Go. You can go ahead and start, Jill.
Tea and Biscotti, dedicated to Jill Sharon Kimmelman and Tim Little. Thank you, Sarfraz. Tea and Biscotti, hold me close, hold me tight. Let's have some tea and biscotti on this cold winter's night, with a comforting blanket upon our knees and a warm mug in our hands. We'll sit together and listen to the brass band. Tenderly we'll move and sway as cool jazz plays. We dance and lounge the days away. We gaze at each other while tasting such sweet biscotti and sipping warm tea, while you wrap your arms around me.
Thanks, Jill.
Thank you, Jill. That was beautiful. Let me
Thank
just
you, Jill.
cut this thing
That was
off.
amazing. That was one of the biggest surprises. And can I just I quickly just mention a little story behind that that poem. I wrote that as a thank you for doing the back blurb and working on Stab the Pomegranate. Jill did an amazing job, and through that process I got to know Jill very, very, very well. And to be honest, I always admired, and I still admire, the love of Tim and Jill. And I had this idea of this is how they spend the evenings together, relaxing and enjoying music and just loving the company of each other. And that poem sort of flowed out, Tea and Biscotti, and I included in the gift of poetry, and always dedicated to you, Jill and Tim.
Thank you. I read it to Tim over the phone, and I will be bringing it with me in another hour when I go over. But Lisa said I have some impromptu remarks, yes? So I wanted to make sure that you knew how extraordinary your work is. And having known you for so long, not as long as Pratibha and her brother and Jack, but truly since the day I met you, since the day we started exchanging audio messages and conversations, I have watched you, and I've been a part, I've witnessed this amazing transformation. And I am always and will always be in awe of the dedication to poetry that you have. And the changes that have taken place have simply elevated the extraordinary poet that we all thought of as a romantic poet. But in truth, Sarfraz, there is no topic that you could not address, and with fervor and subtlety and absolutely every one of your gifts, you awaken all of our senses. And on behalf of Tim, I thank you for this magnificent gift and to be able to be here today at your invitation to share, celebrate this beautiful book. It's my honor to do so. Thank you. And I can't wait until we meet in person, and we'll have champagne, tea, and
Biscotti.
everything in high cream tea, and we'll throw some biscotti in there. Yes?
Wow. Jill, it looks like I think I'll be getting my tickets over for your wedding vows. So,
oh my gosh, that would be
so
amazing.
it could be what, 12 months, and I'll ask
July 3rd.
We'll ask Pratima to come with me. I think she's in the audience, bless her. So yeah, it'd be great to come to your wedding vows again, renewing your wedding vows. What an amazing celebration that would be. That would be great, wouldn't it? Thank you so much for reading Tea and Biscotti. Thank you so much.
Lisa, this video, none of us saw it. None of us had, right, Sarfraz? You didn't see it. I didn't see it. Lisa doesn't share anything ahead. She likes surprises. And I was trying as hard as I could to make sure that I was on the right place. So Lisa, amazing.
The video got ahead of me somehow. I had to bring it back.
She told me that she spent over 3 hours on this one alone. So all the credit goes to Lisa.
Oh, wow.
Thank you so much.
That's my side addiction. I want to let everybody know that I dropped in the chat just now the actual published video. It has Jill reciting the poem. So it's everything you just saw all together in one neat little package. So it is now published on YouTube.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, exciting.
I'll be sharing that. I'll be
yes,
I'll be sharing that too.
Oh, we'll all be sharing that.
Ride to the hospital. I'll be putting that up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. All right.
Thank you.
Next, we have Dennis Brown, who lives in the United States, residing in the state of Michigan. He is an acclaimed published author and poet. He's currently administrator over a large, over 24,000 member Facebook group called The Passion of Poetry, and has spoken in colleges as well as in various literary circles from around the world. His debut book, Reflections of Light, a poetically shared journey of self-discovery, can be found on Amazon. He is currently working on a second book, which will be released in the fall. Welcome, Dennis.
Thank you, Lisa, for putting this on. And I'm very honored to be here. Sarfraz is my buddy. I mean, we go back from the beginning, just a little backstory to it. I really never wrote, I wrote poetry kind of all my life, but off and on, but then during COVID is when I really delved into it. And I ended up joining the Passion of Poetry or looking into it, and met Miss Annette Tarpley. And then I saw Sarfraz Ahmed's name attached to it because they had collaborated on a book, Two Hearts, a wonderful book. And hence I kind of reached out to Sarfraz, and a friendship bloomed after that. And you know, we started collaborating, like you said earlier, on some poems, and we used to talk weekly, you know, and I don't know how many poems we ended up collaborating on, Sarfraz, but
I think there's probably about I think we've got about 30, you know, I've never, not really counted, but I think we wrote for 6 months.
Yes, we
So
wrote for
I
6
wrote
months.
with, at that time, I wrote with Jack and I wrote with Dennis on a weekly basis. It was a bit of an addiction, wasn't it? We just couldn't get enough, I think.
Oh no.
But it lasted for 6 months, and there were about 30 poems that I wrote with Dennis, and I've put 2 in the gift of poetry.
Yes, and I'm very honored for that. As you know, I'm a huge fan of yours. I mean, you saw the book. There's this one. There's this one. I've got your children's book too.
Oh, wow.
You are an amazing writer, and I've learned so much from you over these last couple years. And Sarfraz helped me, actually was very influential in my book, in my debut book. He helped me provide the framework and get it together. And I couldn't thank him enough for it. But he's very knowledgeable. He wrote my back blurb as well. So, you know, sure, there's a back blurb. But Sarfraz is, like I said earlier, he's an amazing poet and just a great person in general. He's got a huge heart. And I love your accent, buddy. I love your UK. You know, it's funny.
Oh, thank you. You'll be
because
hearing a lot of it, Dennis.
my wife and I, we'd go on walks, and then Sarfraz would beep in or buzz in, and we're walking, you know, and my wife is like, I love the way his accent's so cool, you know, the UK stuff. He, you know, but we'd be talking, and you know, she loves your work as well. You know, anybody that's ever come across any of your writing and any of your work that I've introduced them to has been a big fan. And like Jill said, you have even blossomed into every area possible. And I always called you the romantic poet. I always used to write poems to try to compete against yours, but I always seem to fall short. But you know, you've gone into other areas and you've expanded, and you've just been incredible. And I look forward to every time you release a new book. And like I said, I'm honored to be able to be in this as well. And I'd love to share one of our poems, if I may.
Yes.
It's there's 2 of them, like Sarfraz said in there, At the Water's Edge, which I love, and then Momentary Bliss. I think I'm going to read Momentary Bliss. So here it goes. Night after night, with a hardened heart, she looks for love at the bottom of a bottle, leaves an empty glass upon the bar. She drifts in and out of conscious. Alcohol can only take off the edge, can only get you so far. Her hollow eyes are full of distant memories that come and go as she recalls lovers whose names she doesn't quite know. She sighs and reminisces. She remembers the kisses, remembers better days when their love was strong, before righteous feelings, polluted passions that burnt hot like the sun, that bloomed under a cloudless sky. Now stands alone in a field so barren and dry. She yearns to find that chord again that stirred her soul from deep within, got into her heart and under her skin, that polluted full of love, or pulsated full of lust, now bleeds such hate and mistrust. Yearns compassion and touch, now and then spirals into a momentary bliss, now and then longs for his touch, now and then longs for his kiss. So that was one of the poems. And it's funny because when we started collaborating, you know, I'm more of a rhyming poet, and Sarfraz can rhyme, but yet he does prose. He does, you know, he's very well rounded in that. So, you know, but when we started putting it together, you know, it seemed to flow. Our work seemed to flow and go together in a unique way. So I was very happy to collaborate and want to continue to collaborate with Sarfraz. But once again, Sarfraz, I am so happy to be here. You're an amazing guy, just as a writer and as a friend. And, you know, I'm so glad to have walked this journey with you.
Yes.
And, you know, much love, my friend, much love.
Thank you, Dennis. I think our friendship is one of those friendships that actually we kind of ignite each other's flame, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So we spur each other on. And I think, you know, there are some people that I have difficulty writing poetry with. I find it really hard because the styles do not blend and they do not mesh, and you have got to have an open style of writing because you've got to let the other poet in. And Zan, I love writing with Zan. I think some of the best poetry I've written has been with both Dennis and Zan, and I think the social justice anthology, I keep reading it. I'm not just going to, I will say it, I think it's one of the best anthologies I owned and I ever read. And Lisa, you've done an amazing job. I think some of the poems that we wrote, well, there's one, Blood Rights, that is in there. And I sometimes, I've actually read that out to people and they're just blown away by it. They are just, you kind of can hear the kind of silence in the room and people are absorbing and taking it in. But I think, Lisa, I gave 3 poems, and one of them was How, for example, and something like that just really brought it out. But again, Dennis, thank you so much. I think we could actually put out, you remember we talked about this,
Yes.
putting out a book of our collaborative poems.
Yes.
And we could do a book of our collaborative poems, because to be honest, we've got a vault full of these poems. Honestly, they're amazing. They're like the lost poetry of Dennis and Sarfraz. But they're not lost, because I will always include them if I can in any book that I do. And I know, Dennis, you always do as well.
Yes, yeah.
We'll always bring them back. And I like to write again with you again. But thank you. That was a fantastic reciting of that poem. And you brought it to life, and actually quite a sad poem as well, to be honest.
Yes.
But I loved it. I don't know what it is. I love sad poems. So I don't have just to. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, I should take a plug then, Sarfraz, because the anthology I've got coming up, which you're actually in, it's got a lot of sad poems, so you're probably gonna love it.
I'm gonna really love it.
Okay, let's see. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you so much. Our next person is no stranger to me and no stranger to anybody in this room. Zaneta Varnado Johns, who's an author, a 2-time best-selling author, Poetic Forecast, After the Rainbow, and co-author for Voices of the 21st Century, Resilient Women Who Rise and Make a Difference, and Voices of the 21st Century, Conscious, Caring Women Who Make a Difference. She's a featured poet in numerous anthologies and international literary publications, including the editor with me on Social Justice Inc. I could not have done it without her. And of course, you should visit her website, zanexpressions.com. And she'll be reading as well. Thank you, Zan. Jump on in.
Jump on in. Thank you, Lisa. Hey, Sarfraz. This is so wonderful. I couldn't wait to join you for this launch. I'm honored to be your friend. I'm honored to be in your book with you. I'm going to share a poem, one of the poems from this beautiful book. I've got to tell everyone, when I wrote the review for this book, I said, please judge this book by its cover. Isn't this the most beautiful cover? Wait till you open the book. It is amazing. Sarfraz, you are a genius. I don't know how many languages you speak, but I do know that you speak poetry as a second language. That I know for sure. The romantic poet himself. What I love when I read your expressions is that I could see you. I see your eyes, I see your smile, I hear your voice, like Dennis said, the accent. You can read anything to me. I'm ready, I'm listening. So when I read your poems, I feel you. And to be honest, I wish I could follow you around, because the stuff that you give us, these poems, man, I'm in the bar with you. I'm on the beach with you. I'm wherever you are. And I know that the readers will feel that way. So don't hesitate to pick up this beautiful book, okay? Sarfraz is witty. He gives you twists and turns. I love it when you say that. Twists
Thank
and
you.
turns. So I'm going to share the poem that we wrote. This is our new one. We've done several. It was a year ago when Sarfraz first reached out to me to do a collaborative poem. And what he didn't know was that I'd been willing this to happen. I'd been reading his poems with Dennis. I'd been reading his poems with Jack. And I thought, how did they do this? It's seamless. I want to write a poem with someone. So Sarfraz, you were my first. And so I'm going to share our latest poem. It's entitled Our Ombre Sunset. And what you'll see is that Sarfraz and I both love we love the beach, we love the sun, and it comes across in this beautiful poem. Colors melt upon our silhouettes as we dance underneath the blood red sky. We spend hours swaying as the sun begins to set, creating memories, the kind we will never forget. For we own the promise of an ombre sunset. We own the glow of our hearts. We own the bliss of tender kisses. We shall never part. Cherish our gentle embrace, sealed and graced by ultraviolet rays. Moon shadows appear, our secrets float afar. I lift my palm to the skies. We are forever contained in this moment in time. As we watch the sun set all around us, we watch it ignite a flame. We watch it burn again and again. Colors burst so tenderly, deep oranges and reds, creating memories, the kind we will never forget. Sarfraz, I will never forget your beautiful book. I will never forget any of your books.
Oh,
You have many. Keep them coming. Keep
Oh.
them coming. I am honored to be here.
Oh, thank you,
This is
Zan.
great.
Thank you so much. I mean, I'm gonna return the favor, because I think for me, you get to a point, especially if you're, Dennis, myself, and Zan, we are all passionate poetry, administrators. And part of that job, we actually read a lot of poetry. We have to approve the poetry that goes onto this massive Facebook site that Annette Tarpley put together. So we read a lot of poetry, and I don't know about you guys, but you kind of get a bit glazed with the poetry that's there. Not to put it down, not to say anybody's not bad or good, that's not for me to judge, but you get glazed. But from time to time, there comes a person that actually kind of, you actually have to, you kind of wake up a bit. You have to sit back and you think, and you read the poem again, and it kind of ignites that fire again. Yeah. And Zan, your poetry, when I first read it, was doing that for me. Man. So I got very excited, and it was my friend Pratibha, who, bless her, she is in the audience, who actually told me a little bit about yourself. And I got very excited, and I said, I want to reach out to Zan. I want to write with Zan, because I see there's a fire there. There's something in the underbelly that we want to explore. And I think writing this poem was fantastic, because the way that it started and ended, I think the editing process took it to another level. Yes. I remember that we kind of edited the poem to the point that it became something wonderful and beautiful. And your reciting of it, which is the first time I've ever heard it being recited. Oh my God, it is amazing, isn't it? It is such a great poem.
It's wonderful.
I am proud to have it in the book. And to let you know as well, the book is actually in 2 parts. So the gift of poetry is dedicated to all my fans. It's got no dedication, not one person, but it's dedicated to everyone. everyone in this Zoom meeting, everyone that's picked up my book, everyone that's written some of my, read some of my work, or perhaps made something a multimedia. I've had lots of people make lots of videos of my poetry, you know, which is nice. So I've dedicated the book to them, but it's in two parts. One is my solo poetry, and then the second was A Gift of Two, which is my collaborative work. And Zan, we had one poem that I put in there, but I wanted a brand new one, something exclusive for the readers. And the Ombre Sunset was beautiful. So thank you so, so much. I'm looking forward to your next work. I am, yes, you know, so I have, if you were to see, you know, where I sleep, I've got poetry books all around me. You know, I am surrounded by poetry. I've got poetry books there. I've got the one next to me. I live and breathe, like you said, my second language has become poetry. I think, I don't know what I would do without poetry. I think we all agree with it. I think it's become like a lifeline, to be honest. So thank you so much.
You are so welcome. And thank you, Pratibha, for sending him to me to him. How wonderful. Thank you. Congratulations, Sarfraz.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zan, for reading that. It's beautiful. I have one more video. Sarfraz didn't know I was going to show this one. It's my favorite promotional video that he did, especially at the very end. It kind of made me laugh. I love it. So I'm going to show that, and then we're going to turn it over to you, Sarfraz, and let you share your beautiful words with us.
Amazing. Thank you.
My sunglasses. Buy this book.
Buy this book now.
I agree. Well, Sarfraz, I've known you for, like I say, for quite some time. I've always loved your work. I actually read your poetry in your voice now because I've read so much of it and heard you that I actually have an accent, and even the inflections, I have it down. I can read and feel like you're in the room. So I am just tickled pink with Sarfraz's work. I've shared at the beginning video all the different ones. That's not all of them, not all of the things he's done, just some. Of course, I had to put a plug in there for the anthologies that he was in with us. So without any further delay, welcome to your show, Sarfraz Ahmed. Take it away.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so just want to say thank yous before I begin reading some of the work, some of the book, and I'll talk about the book. I want to say thank you to my family who are actually in the audience. My sister Sabina, who actually, she designed and drew the cover. So Sabina is in the audience, so thank you for making the cover something so special. The book itself, and my other sister Sophia is here as well. So she's tuned in. There's a picture of her. You can see her smiling and happy away. So I'm really pleased. And it has been a family affair in that sense. So I like to, with each book, it's a whole concept. So I can write poetry. That's the easy bit. To write a book is the hard bit. That's the bit that it took, I'm going to say it took me years to get my head round and to get more confident in going into that area. So my first book, 84 Pins, I was nervous. I was nervous as hell, to be honest. And you could probably tell with the first edition, I was like, oh my God, what have I done? I kept saying to myself, what? Because you are, as a poet, you are so vulnerable and exposing yourself. And the Gift of Poetry was a book I wanted to put out. It's the follow-up to Stab the Pomegranate. And Lisa, I think you hit the nail on the head where when you said Stab the Pomegranate, in a way, launched me. I'm gonna say, because prior to that, I don't think anyone had really kind of sat up and kind of taken any. Well, they had taken. There were some ripples. There were some ripples. People were interested, but I think when Stab the Pomegranate came out last year, I think people were kind of taken back by the range of poetry that was in there and what I had done with that book. That was the book I needed to put out, and it came out. And I think everyone I know has got that book, or have got copies of it or something. So let me tell you about the Gift of Poetry. So the Gift of Poetry is a book that I started before the second edition of the 84 Pins, which came out in February. I was working on it. I was working on the manuscript. I was very, very influenced by Kathy Jo's book. I think she knows this, by her Golden Mushrooms book and the layout. And also I wanted not just the poetry book, I wanted something that looked beautiful in terms of the pictures and the illustrations all the way throughout. I wanted my sister Sabina to do the illustration. She did the one for Stab the Pomegranate. And so I kind of pestered her for months and months. She came up with some fantastic designs, and she worked on, these are actual hands, so the picture you see are actual hands that are molded and put on there. So thank you, Lisa. So it's an amazing one, amazing photo. It's actually a sculpture that became a photograph on there, and she has done an amazing, amazing job. And all the way throughout, I wanted the book to look beautiful. I wanted someone to own this book and enjoy reading it, but also looking at it visually as well. I'm going to read, obviously, from the book. The book is in two parts. One is The Gift of Poetry, which is my latest poems. So I always kind of work a year behind. So these are poems from last year. So they are the latest poems. And also I wanted to put some collaborative poems in there as well. The last two poems were squeezed in when I met Donna McCormack. Jill knows Donna, and I think Karuna knows Donna as well. I think everyone knows Donna, I think. But we worked together in collaborators, and we put two poems together, Pluto and the Moons and The Siren's Bite. Pluto and the Moon especially is going to give you, is actually a glimpse of what's to come next year. So my style is changing, has played around, and hopefully it's got better. And so the book that will be for next year that I'm working on, and I will start working on soon, will be very, very different. Okay, so The Gift of Poetry. First of all, thank you for buying it. I'm so happy that you've got it and that you're enjoying it as well. Okay, I'm going to read a poem called Heartbreak Made Me a Poet. It's on page 19 if you want to follow. And which is kind of, this poem came about so many people that I've met started writing poetry after periods of trauma or heartbreak, and they became a poet. And so I'm kind of responding to that. Heartbreak made me a poet. Caught up in the stillness, in the darkness, in the serene, locked in between reality and the dream, in the visions that linger night after night, drowning in the madness, in the thrill of the fight. Too many broken hearts imprinted in my soul, too many corpses of lovers that I could not hold, half smiles and looks of loves that never got to be are clustered in my memory. In amongst the turbulence of my life, I close my eyes and dance to the melancholy tune I find myself surrounded by words, by verses that don't fit or rhyme, that circle and surround me time after time. An extract of my heart rendered by poetry, a gift that I give to you today. Heartache made me a poet, and I can't make it go away. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so the name Romantic Poet actually came as a surprise to me, because I'll be honest with you, I never thought I was a romantic poet. I never thought I could write about love. I never knew any of those things. But it was Annette Tarpley, who, the founder of Passion of Poetry, who became my first kind of contact into the poetry world, who actually coined the term and said, Sarfraz, you are a romantic poet. You are the most romantic poet. I says, and she bought the book 84 Pins. And the first edition of 84 Pins has no picture of me, has no bio of me, has no information about me, really. So it's it's book of poetry, but nothing really else. And then I asked Annette, I said, Annette, which poems do you particularly like? And she answered, all the romantic ones. And then at that point, I went back to 84 Pins and I read the poetry and I thought, oh my God, she is right. She's absolutely right. Because my first book was a book that I never thought would be published. As Lisa mentioned, and as you can see in the film, I was a secret poet. I wrote in secret. I never shared my poetry, and I hid my poetry as well. So, you know, as time went on and things changed, and I got published, and life just kind of changed for the better. Okay, I think it's time for more poetry from The Gift of Poetry. And I'm going to read a few more, but I'm going to read My Happy Place. My happy place. I cement each tender memory, plaster and drill it in, so deep into my brain, so I can return to it again and again. Memories of sun-kissed beaches, of the glorious and the divine. I want to go to my happy place where you are mine, shining a light upon me, so warm like the sun. You kept me from falling apart, becoming undone. You are my oasis, my tropical blue. You sheltered me from harm, came to my rescue. Shielded me from the bullets and the guns, from the bombs that fell. You propelled me to a safety, to a place that I want to dwell. And when the world was so cruel and cold, you reached out to me, gave me your hand to hold, kept me warm in your sweet embrace. Now every time I look at you, you take me to a happy place. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so there are so many. Obviously, the book has got over 100 poems. I know I speak to Elliot quite a bit. Elliot is a renowned poet, and he runs a fantastic workshop via Zoom, and so many people join on that. And he's a New York poet, and his poetry has influenced me quite a lot, and his work has been very, 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 very influential. So I think I'm going to read two more poems as well. They're on page 114 and 115. This is probably, you know, this is the romantic poet now. Okay, so get ready for some romance. Okay. The beautifulness of your face. These days, I can't seem to see the beautifulness of your face. It no longer appears as it once used to. I search for it in old photographs. They don't do justice to the softness of your touch. I've got to admit that it's a little too much for me to take. As I walk in the marketplace of memories, the tantalizing aroma of flowers in full bloom, like a sunny afternoon, warm winds swaying, propelling in the afterglow, reminding me of where we used to go. All those beautiful places in summertime when I felt you were mine. But I can't seem to forget the hurt is so overpowering, for you left me with a pain, with scars that are so real. that they penetrate deep into this heart and mind, puts everything into perspective, everything falls into place, but still it doesn't matter how hard I try, I can't seem to see the beautifulness of your face. Thank you guys, thank you. That's actually quite sad as well. I think I've had this comment as well, where a lot of people, when they read the poetry and they actually spend time with it, they'll notice even the romantic poetry, there's always a hint of sadness somewhere. There's always that, if you look between the lines, there tends to be a bit of sadness, because I think, you know, love isn't all flowers and, you know, easygoing and sunsets and so on. You know, love is a road that we all go through, and that's a turbulent road sometimes. Okay, I'm going to read a poem that's called Out, and it's quite a, well, I'll let you make your mind up. Okay, it's called Out. Out like a damp spot, like a wood that's been left to rot, like a bad mistake, like a chance I did not take, like a tumor on a brain, like a vermin eating grain, the sugar and the spice, like a house full of mice. Out like a guest that came, overstayed their welcome, changed everything inside and out, tore into me until I finally knew what pain was all about. Thank you. Out is when you can't control something that you can't control. You want to get rid of it. You want to, it's an anger, it's an emotion. So you want this out. It could be the way that you feel about something or feel about someone, but it's a frustration, and that's a poem called Out. Okay, so I'm going to read one more last one. I've got lots and lots, obviously, that I can read as well. I'm going to read, if I can find it. Let's see if I can find it. There is one, We Have the Stars, which I particularly like as well. So, okay, so let's see if I can find it. I will also mention that there's a lot of variety in here as well. So although it's obviously there is the romantic side of things, but there's also the variations of emotions that you can tap into as well. Okay, I've actually just seen it, to be honest. Here we go. We Have the Stars. I'm going to read two more. I'm going to read the last one as well. So I've just seen another one I want to put out there. Okay, I think we've got enough time. Okay, so We Have the Stars. I remember how you'd make me stop to look at the stars, to marvel and gaze, make me close my eyes, astound me with such stories of galaxies from afar. Your imagination would light up my heart so blissfully, so romantically, so day after day, you'd say such words that would circle around my head. You'd say to me, you could keep the sunset and sunrise, for we have the stars instead. Thank you. That's romantic. And then I think I'm gonna end, and then I might take some requests if we've got time. But I'm gonna end with the last poem of the first section, and there's a story behind this, which is called They Wore Wedding Dresses, and is on page 134. Now, They Wore Wedding Dresses is a poem that I wrote on the back of a story that I heard of a group of women who had, I think they lost out on love at some point in their lives, but they all got together on the same day, on the same date. They wore beautiful wedding dresses and they celebrated that day as well. And this is their story. It's called They Wore Wedding Dresses. Interwoven in a chrysalis, a butterfly on the verge of the abyss, stolen moments of a kiss, of a love that once used to exist. Beauty baptized in a moment in time of a love interwoven in the hearts and minds of each bride that wore the wedding dress that they began to confess. Each heart bled dry by heartache and sadness, each beauty that once was denied love. They all wore wedding dresses once a year, hoping their problems would disappear. would just go away. So here they meet once a year with the beautifulness on full display. So each year they meet at the same time, at the same place. They walk with such style and grace. If you saw them once, they're sure to put a smile upon your face. Thank you. And that's the last one. Oh, thank you, Jill. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. That's called They Wore Wedding Dresses. And there's a story behind that. I felt although it's beautiful, there's a sadness part of it as well. But I was so inspired, and I think these days it takes quite a bit to inspire me. I need to be inspired to write. I don't know about you guys, but sorry, I think if you've written quite a lot of poetry, you need that spark. You need something to get that pen and that paper to touch and for something to begin. So thank you for listening. Thank you for joining me. I've got so many people in the audience. Thank you, Elizabeth. Got Lizzie in the audience there, got Zuleika, got a lot of my friends, a lot of family members are here today. And thank you, Lisa, for organizing this. As I said, I think I said this in Zan's launch, I think you're the queen of launches, of book launches. You are the queen, you are the best. I think this is something that is much needed for poets. We can write the poetry, we could perhaps put the book together, but I think we need marketing agents, we need, we need publicity agents, we need people out there to support us in our work. Another person I will mention is Alan Johnson, who did the promo, and Alan's done a lot of work with, I think, with all of us, all the poets that are here. And Alan I think you get those special people in the world that, if they see something they like, or they see beauty or something, they will go out of their way to be part of that. And Alan is part of that process. And I call him a poet promoter, because he promotes endlessly poetry. He's done lots of promos. He's done YouTube videos for me, and I have not asked for any of it. There was a poem I wrote for Alan Johnson. If he might get to read this, called Maestro. And again, I dedicated it to him. And I think we've got 3 minutes left, if that's okay. And if everyone's okay, I'm going to read Alan Johnson's poem, which I called him Maestro. I think, Lisa, you could be in this as well, to be honest. You're a bit of a maestro. Okay. Spiraling in orbit, for he is the sun, the moon, and the stars. They all revolve all around him. For he's the maestro conducting the show. He's the star in the night sky that makes it all aglow. His performance has no bounds, ruthless, defenseless, a man on a mission. With hands of the gods, he stops the collision, creates magic with such fine precision. A maestro conducting the orchestra, his hands move this way and that. For he's the circus master, the clowns and the acrobats all fly around him. For he lights the fire, makes it all begin. Thank you. And that is because, to be honest, as poets, we can give money, we can do lots of, we can pay for things. But for me, the way that I thank people, I will write from my heart, and I will write a poem for them, as I did with Jill, as I did with Alan. And there's a few more dedications in there as well. So that's how I feel. I feel, if I can give something from my heart, I will give that thing from my heart, and I will give my poetry to them. So thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for buying the book. It's doing, I'm going to say thank you to the US, to be honest. I think my poetry and my books, since day one, have been picked up by the American people and people around the world, but especially the US. Hopefully next year I'm coming. I'm definitely coming next year. I've got big plans to come to America. and just because I write about America a lot now, and just want to thank you because, I think,
Welcome.
and hopefully it'll give me a chance to meet one or two of you. But I realize America is such a big place. It's massive. So, but thank you so much, and thank you for today. Thank you.
I want to provide a mitzvah, I guess you could call that, and Jill's always talking about a mitzvah. I want to, she's converting me now to Judaism, I guess. But what I want to say is McKinley Publishing Hub did a fantastic job with your book. And as a publisher, I can appreciate what other publishers, I will admit, when I see somebody's book that was published by a different publisher, I go through it and I pull ideas. How am I going to learn if I don't see what other people do?
Yeah.
And the artwork that's been done through here, I love it. It's so well done, so printed so nicely. The cover design, the fact that you can read the back cover. One of the things I do is, as part of a little side job I have, is critique books, and I've got to be able to read the back cover. This is beautiful work from McKinley, and so I'm just real pleased with their work, and so there we go, from one publisher
I've got
to
to say
another.
thank you. To
Kudos.
be honest, I'm so glad, Lisa, that you talked about McKinley Publishing Hub, and the relationship between a poet or a writer and the publisher is very special. And I'll talk about that relationship because it can either it can either kind of increase your creativity, it can actually help produce your creativity, or it can numb it actually as well. And I've had 3 different publishers, and with McKinley we were on the same page, and they were absolutely fantastic. And what I like is the flexibility. That's the bit that I sometimes didn't get with publishers. And I'll give you an example. If I wanted something changing in the last minute, some publishers would not do it. They wouldn't do it. And with McKinley, they were flexible. They were patient for the cover art because I insisted that my sister's going to do it. So they were patient with that. And Lisa, this is my 5th book, so I'm learning as well. So, as I'm going through, because I own so many poetry books now, I know what I want. I have a vision in my head. Whereas before I used to think poetry, now I think books. I know what next year's book's going to be like. I even know 2024, I have an idea of what kind of book will be out at that stage as well. But thank you to McKinley for supporting and being so easygoing with me. They were so easygoing and working together. I think that's the bit that I like with McKinley. They were so easygoing, working. They didn't put barriers up. They were understanding and we worked together. But I'm so glad that you liked the look of it. I'll tell you what I really like. I saw the hardback, because I normally don't buy hardback copies of the book. Oh, Dennis has got one. Dennis, isn't it wonderful? Don't you think? I don't know who else has got one. Oh, Jill, have you got a hardback cover? Yeah, Jill has. It's a little bit more expensive, and I'm not really one that actually buys hardback books or anything, but I did see The Gift of Poetry in hardback, and oh my God, it is something special.
Well worth the money, Sarfraz. Well worth the money.
Oh, thank you. Because that was, I like to keep the cost of a poetry book. In England, it'll be below £10. So I don't know what that's in dollars. So I like to keep it cheap, basically cheap, affordable. That's the word. And when Eureka said to me about the hardback, that was something I didn't know nothing about, and I let her price it as well. Yeah, Jill, did you want to say something? Or
I did. It's a nightmare for Lisa because now she's seen this magnificent hardback, and we spoke for 3 hours last night about my next project, and she's like, "Dear God, no!" But she'll do it. I also wanted to say that when you spoke about Zan's collaboration, it was as if I was there with you, because I too was watching Zan in extraordinary awe of this woman who I never, ever thought I would even meet. I thought of Zan the way Zan thinks of Nikki Giovanni. And I actually, it took me to build up my courage to ask Zan to please consider doing me the great favor of reciting a poem, my favorite poem about friendship, because I remember her words. I remember her saying, I will always remember where I was when I heard you read this poem. And when I asked her, she said, just send the papers to Lisa. I'm honored. And it was just reliving it, this very moment, because I felt exactly like you did. And it turned out to be not only an opportunity to get to know one another better, but to be embraced into her whole family the same way that Elizabeth's family and Prativa's family and so many of you have been so kind to always think about Tim and I. And when Zan did that for me, she said, I'll recite anything, anytime. Now I'm just waiting for the chance. Sarfraz, I know I'm at the bottom of the list, but it would be the greatest honor to try a collaborative poem worthy of some of the others, because I've only ever collaborated with Tim. So truly, it just brought all of that back. I mean, all of these duets, for lack, I love the idea.
Jill, I'm actually really surprised that we've not collaborated or gone that way, but definitely when the time's right, I'm always there.
I've got a
we'll have
lot
fun.
of
We'll have so much fun doing
that
it.
I'm gonna be
And it will be
remembering.
amazing. I will guarantee that the poem will be absolutely amazing, like, you know, a work of art. But thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
so
Jill. You've got me standing tall. You know, I
Well,
stand taller.
the part I didn't get to finish was to say that Zan directly to not only was she gracious and said, I'll be happy to read anything ever, she's become one of my dearest poetry sisters. And while I was in the hospital last week, feeling devastated, completely alone, and I said, may we speak? And she picked up the phone and we talked for 2 hours. That's the person that she is inside. She looked to Nikki Giovanni. I look to her and all of you.
Wow.
So I'm just
I don't know if I could stand this. Thank you, Jill. Thanks for trusting me. Thanks for trusting me with your delicate feelings. Thanks for trusting me with your beautiful poem. Call me anytime. All right. I love this. But it's back to Sarfraz.
Sarfraz, I'd like to say a couple of words. I just wanted to say that we started our poetry journey together, and it's amazing to see you grow so much in a short space of time. And when you tell me you're doing another book, I go, oh, another one. You know? So I know it's brilliant. You know, you have got a wealth of writing, and we talk regularly, you and me. And it's so nice now. My brother's on board as well. He's got into poetry somehow. So you know, we talk all the time, and it's so nice to talk to you guys as well. Lisa, Jill, Dennis, Zan, you know, all of you have linked with regularly, but it's so nice to see everyone. You haven't seen anyone for so long.
Such a long time. I think
it's been a while, yeah. But congratulations, Sarfraz. You know, I wish you all the best. You know, always you come to me. And the thing is with me and Sarfraz is that my poetry is so different to his poetry. And this is probably a good thing because we can bounce off really good ideas. And that's the best thing about connecting with all of you. You know, we get to bounce off ideas, share, and we grow. So well done, Sarfraz. Well done.
Pratika, thank you so much. I mean, I just want to quickly mention this because I think we have something in common, because I think there's two types of people. There are poetry people and non-poetry people. And when I talk about poetry with a poetry person, it's on a different level. You know, they understand, they get it, they have a passion, they have an understanding. A non-poetry person can sometimes glaze over and look a bit vacant to you, you know, so they don't always get it. So Pratika is my poetry person. We started a journey at the very start, at the beginning, and we have both of us have got books out at the same time. And Pratika's always there at the end of a phone, and she knows I'm there as well. But thank you for supporting me, and thank you for coming today. And Karuna, you become a great friend as well, to be honest. I think with Karuna's poetry and Pratika's poetry, your poetry is so different to mine, but I actually love that difference. I enjoy the difference, and it's exciting. So thank you guys for supporting me.
Yeah, we're doing a book together, me and my brother. So, you know, it's still in the process.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we're still working on the manuscript, but that's going to be a new project that I never anticipated doing ever. It just kind of happened. So yeah, I'm really excited.
And I've heard
thank you all. I'm sorry.
No, just to say, Lisa, I've heard some of the poetry from the potential manuscript from the book, and it's absolutely out there. It's fantastic. I've got Zuleika who just wants to say something. So if we let Zuleika, hi Zuleika, did you want to say something?
Hi, thank you so much. I just wanted to say that it's an honor to be here. I mean, I've not met any poets apart from Sarfraz, and that was only how many months ago that I met you?
About
and
3
everything
months.
that you're counting, 3 months ago that I met you. And it's like you said, I never felt like I've had anyone to connect with poetry. And I've also been a secret poet, and I've never been able to share it. But when I spoke to you, Sarfraz, I felt like, oh, wow, there's someone else who understands me. There's someone else who writes like me. And I want to say, Sarfraz, thank you so much, because if it wasn't for you, I would never have started publishing my poems. Just posting them on social media, it takes me so much courage. And like you said, it's vulnerability, isn't it? When we write our poems, we're writing from the heart. So thank you so much, Sarfraz, for inviting me here. It's been so lovely to see and hear all the other poets. You all sound really inspiring. So thank you so much.
Thank you all so much for coming out today. I'm going to have to bring things to a close because I have someplace else I got to be. But I do thank you. Now, Sarfraz, you are